Hello, I'm Martin White, founder and CTO of Tech ID Manager. I saw this Reddit thread, somebody pointed it out to me. So I'm going to scroll down through it and talk about it a little bit because it's kind of near and dear to my heart and like what we do as a company. So the thing here is I need arguments against colleagues who want to advise customers to just pull Microsoft MFA onto a single phone held by the on-prem admin. So I'm going to assume that this is the MFA for some sort of shared account, probably the GA account into their Azure tenant. You know, this is common. It's especially common in MSPs, and this is just such poor form. This means so bad, so bad. So let's talk about this. This person clearly is correct. They shouldn't be doing that. They should each have MFA. The point of MFA is to confirm that you are who you say you are. So let's look. This is how you lose your cybersecurity insurance. That's totally true. Like, if you say you're doing MFA, but you're doing it wrong, cyber insurance is not going to pay. It's not really, it is wrong to say this is checking the box. This is not checking the box because that box for MFA on the cyber insurance forms has a whole bunch of stuff behind it. That checkbox is the tip of the iceberg that really is the questions they're asking. And if you say you use MFA, they are asking if you use MFA, if you're using it correctly, if you have unique accounts for each person, all these other things behind it that means MFA is done correctly. And here, like this person says, when you get cryptoed, which is a really strange way to put it, if you get hacked, broken, that account gets stolen, whatever, they're going to ask for logs and they will not cover the damages. That's totally true. There are several court cases from travelers and other insurance providers where people said they were doing MFA, but they weren't doing it right, so they're not doing it. Point of MFA is supposed to keep your data safe, employees and customers. It doesn't resonate with a lot of people. That's totally true. Yeah, the insurance aspect is super important. Yeah, if the client can't collect from insurance, guess what they're going to try to collect from next? And if you've told them to share this MFA between people on one phone, then yeah, they're coming after you because you, as the security professionals MSP, gave them bad advice. That's just a terrible thing to do. Yeah, it is alarming that techs are advocating for this, but this is something that's been systemic through the history of MSPs. They're sharing admin accounts. They do it for on-prem access. They do it for local machine access. They do it for Azure access. Sharing accounts is just prevalent in the MSP space, and it needs to be fixed. It's something where MSPs really need to, as Matt Lee would say, raise the tide, get better as a industry, stop sharing admin accounts. It's just what you should do. In fact, you know, I have my little stop sign here. Stop sharing admin accounts. I love to turn that on and off. Isn't any insurance to lose? Maybe there is, maybe there's not. And is that admin, when they talk about physical proximity to this admin, is this like a secretary or like this admin assistant, or is this the local administrator who has access to that anyway? There really shouldn't be any cost to this because you can make as many unlicensed admin accounts in an Azure tenant as you want and tie MFA to each of those, and that is free. Because those admin accounts can manage anything in the tenant without a license to use the thing, that's actually what Microsoft suggests you do in lots of situations. And then people start here, oh yeah, I remember this section. If you store an OTP in a password manager, or you're really storing not OTP, but TOTP, there's HOTP. Anyway, technical rant there. Storing TOTP in a password manager and sharing it between people who also store that password in that same password manager along with the username of that same password manager, that just becomes 3 pieces of data to steal from the password manager instead of 2. It does mitigate some types of attacks. It is better than just using a password to have that TOTP in there. But really still, it's still stealable from one place. Right, here's my... Our response, Tech ID Manager, would you share MFA codes with your ex-wife? That's a good thought. Like, you at one time were sharing these codes. If you put them in a vault or you give them to people, or like this MFA gets installed on multiple phones that different people have, or they have access to it. This person was one time a trusted colleague in your life. you really should have a unique account that you can turn off for that person so that they have the traceability that they did what they did. Traceability is huge. If you're sharing this MFA, it means you're sharing an account. It means you don't have traceability on what happened with this account. You don't have a list of what each person did. You just have the admin account did it, and then each person is hiding anonymously under that admin account. This is a really bad thing for people to do. It leads to all the cybersecurity frameworks say you need traceability on what happened on that account. If you're sharing an account, you don't have that traceability. There's a lot of pretzel logic where people say, well, I know who looked at that password in the password vault, thus I know who used it. That's a really weak argument because it just is. Somebody could look at it for somebody else and give them the information over the phone. If you're in the habit of sharing that information anyway, sharing accounts, sharing OTP, sharing passwords, I have seen multiple, when we install Tech ID Manager, we do white glove installs. I have seen multiple cases where on the phone, one person has gotten the text with the TOTP code in it, and they've read it out loud over the phone to somebody else. This becomes just the habit of the way you work when you use shared accounts. When you're hiding anonymously behind the global administrator or the administrator, and you don't have a unique account, you develop a lot of bad habits that go along with that of sharing that information and not being protective of it, because you can always say, it wasn't me. So putting that OTP in a password vault does not ensure that the person who did it is the one that's using it. Because you could have a technician in the field call into a technician in the office and be like, hey, I need this username and password for this admin because I'm in the field. And then can you read me that TOTP code too? And they read it to them. So person A in the field is the one that actually logged in. Person B in the office is the one that got logged as looking at the password vault. When you look back at this in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, when a breach happens because of that, and you go to this person who's in the office and be like, hey, you are logged in the password vault as having done this. It's really the person in the field that did the work. You've misattributed. You don't have traceability. You don't have accountability for what happened, and you can't look back at the logs and know who did it. It's a big grant. Yeah, you should have uniquely named accounts. You should not be pooling MFA if you have unique accounts. Give out phones. Like, company does not give out phones. Use personal phones. If somebody refuses to use their personal phones, there are lots of other rationale for that. Yeah, like even here, this person's questioning like personal phones are not allowed for MFA. Yeah, that's poor. The MFA is to prove they are who they said they are. They should be able to put on any phone they want. Yeah, this is talking about the MFA fatigue that goes on when there's a single phone for multiple people using it. Yeah. Oh, violating nearly all cybersecurity policies and CIS controls and security frameworks. Yeah, for sure. So if you look like at this link, this is one for Travelers here. Travelers is actually suing a company because they misrepresented their use of MFA to get the cyber insurance. So like they didn't have to pay, I believe is the way that came out. Justification. Yeah, you don't want to be justified. You don't have to justify that. You want to work with people who understand security. We say, hey, everybody should have a unique account. We shouldn't share this MFA. People should be like, yeah, you're right. Who would question that? That's intuitively obvious to the most casual observer. I love that. I had a college professor who would go over these really complex equations for electricity transmittal over long wires and different networks of resistors and capacitors and inductors, things like that. And I'm not sure whether he was serious or not, but he'd go through these like multi-page long derivations and equations, and he'd say, oh, see, it's just intuitively obvious to the most casual observer. And then he would erase it and move on to the next question. We were always like, everyone in the class was like, yes, that was obvious when you went through it, but it's not intuitively obvious to the most casual observer. We were like senior level computer engineer students, and like this was hard stuff. Anyway. Oh, the drama. Oh, the drama. There's so much drama when you try and deal with privileged accounts in a company. You're like, oh, what about if I have a break glass account that everybody has access to? If you have a break glass account and everybody has access to it, then everybody has access to it. You know, you don't have traceability. And a break glass account should belong to one person. Huge waste of time for the admin and users at any time to need an MFA code. Wow. You can't just put security concerns aside. MFA is important. You should have it on admin accounts. You should have it on all accounts to make sure the person is who they say they are. Yeah. Logic is out of reach to decision makers. I like that comment. That's hilarious. Yeah. TOTP is a good solution. Yeah, a lot of people put in LastPass, IT Glue, Hoodoo, whatever can share TOTP. Any password vault should be able to do that. And you need to make sure that your password vault does it securely, and that like you have zero visibility storage and all these other things in the password vault. That's real important. The MFA, hardware MFA keys can definitely do it, especially the UB key and stuff like that. I mean, I could get a UB key right here. You can use it for, well, if I can show it. Whoop-bam! UB key. They were great. They were good things. The boomer answers in this post are terrifying. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you find yourself in a job where people don't understand some pretty basic cybersecurity stuff and they're the one making cybersecurity decisions, it's something to consider. Like, are you in the right place? If your security is higher or lower, it's something to consider. Yeah, and your recommendations lead to a massive security breach. That can totally happen, especially with a bad actor on the inside. And if it depends on how you use that MFA. If you use that MFA to authenticator, you're better off. If you use that MFA to SMS on a shared phone, that's sad. That's terrible. I've actually seen, I'm familiar with MSPs that have done global admin accounts to Azure with SMS to a shared phone that sits in their office that's connected to VoIP that then pushes that out to a whole series of other phone numbers all at the same time. So, you go log in, use shared username and password to the global admin account. The text comes to the phone at the office, which then retexts every technician's phone. So all day long as people log in, you're just getting texts of the code that you should type in. And it's MFA fatigue. Nobody knows what's really going on. You lose traceability. Like, I can't harp on that enough. The accountability and the traceability are so important for admin accounts. It's just so important. Anyway, so this just keeps going on. There's a lot more of the same stuff. Time to get better, colleagues. That sentiment is echoed quite a bit in here. Yeah. It's looking for more ways to drive home the point that you have to have something personal for MFA, not a shared device. Yeah. So MFA really is multi-factor authentication. It's a second factor on proving who you are when you log in an account. Something you know, something you are, something you have. The password is something you know, something you have is the phone that gets the TOTP token, or the token that shows the hash on the time with a TOP token is the something you have is the proof that you have it. Yeah. Anyway, that's my gripe. The proper solution here, unique accounts for each person, the unique MFA for each thing. Come check out Tech ID Manager. This is the bread and butter of the problem we solve. All right. Have a great day.